Hello, everyone. Welcome to another DCU Daily. I'm John. Very nice to see all of you. We have a pretty good show for you today, but not just DCU Daily, but remember, we also have Fancast Friday after this. But before we get into that, we have to get into the news that we have for you today. We have a little bit more in regards to the whole Paramount Skydance bidding on Warner Brothers Discovery, and I think it's safe to say Zaslav will not go quietly into the night, and I think it's safe to say he wants war. But we're also going to be going into the box office forecast for this weekend, as well as talk about some MCU news and some franchise news. Nudes? Not that. News. I meant news. I swear. PG show, guys. Totally PG show. But then I will be talking about two movies I saw today. We're going to be talking about The Long Walk and Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues in MovieTalk Madness. And then, of course, we have our quick hits. And then we're going to be talking about, in DCU Daily today, we're going to be talking about the update that James Gunn provided us with apparently a secret DCU project, as well as some concept art that was released, in addition to a little bit of Peacemaker news and more qualming and debunking in regards to the Batman being in the Clayface universe, vice versa, whatever. So we're going to get into that, all of that and more, into the show right now.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number two.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Here we go. Anyway, but let's get into the news. But before I do that, I have to, of course, introduce myself. Hello, John. Nice to see you, and nice to see all the new people. Tony, Monique. Very wonderful to see you both. Thank you for joining the show bright and early. We very much appreciate that here on DCU Daily. But Dan is going to be coming in later. Hopefully, he's just a little bit caught up. So hopefully he will be getting in just a little bit later today. But outside of that, you're stuck with me for the time being. And that's okay. At least I hope that's okay with you. If you're not, then sorry. But the first thing we have, unfortunately, Dan isn't here to talk about it, but I'm sure he's going to let us know his thoughts later. But apparently, in regards to the whole Paramount business, the video has nothing to do with it. It's just a stupid video that I can't get rid of. That David Zaslav apparently wants the bidding war that Paramount Skydance is trying to get ahead of. So, he wants a nice, big, all-out war in regards to this. Apparently allegedly someone, according to a person with direct knowledge of the matter. Yeah, okay, we'll see. It's coming from New York Post, so we know how much that fucking means nothing. But apparently David Zaslav is looking to set up a bidding war for his media conglomerate. This was in the light of yesterday, as we talked about it extensively for almost an hour, that David Ellison, head of Skydance, recently acquired Paramount and now wants to acquire Warner Brothers before they get split up into two separate conglomerates, companies, whatever you want to call it. But with the movie and streaming stuff and then everything else. So yes, they have, they haven't disclosed an official bid for Warner Discovery, but they've just kind of mentioned like, hey, we kind of want this, and I have enough money to actually say something about it. So, um, apparently, according earlier this week, according to a direct person with inside knowledge, that with bankers at Goldman Sachs to gauge bidding interest from other media and tech specifically, I can't talk today, and tech outfits, including Amazon, Apple, and even Netflix, which would be ironic considering that is where, a certain somebody is doing their films currently. So, his goal, the Post has learned, is to propel the stock price possibly to $40 a share. It closed Thursday just about $16 with a market value of $40 billion. If Zaslav can't get the price he's seeking, a source said he plans to use the appreciation of his stock price to buy more content. So essentially, the man is playing the long game. He's just either, if he gets a lot of money from the deal, then he'll do it. If not, then he's just gonna buy more shit, which is like, okay, that's certainly an interesting way of doing it. But I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. Um, you know, yeah, guy said 46 billion had WB has too much IP. Um, yeah, sorry about that, Tony. Um, Hugs, handshakes, and head pats to you. Um, I know I love a good head pat. I know that's like people are like, oh, head pats, that's weird. But like sometimes a nice good head pat, it's nice. Yeah, everyone thinks it's condescending, but it's not. It's, you just ruffle the hair a little bit. I don't have hair, but I'm just saying, it's still nice to feel the buzz on my head. It's just like nice little ruffle. But yeah, so exactly. He wants maximum dollars. Hello, Patrick Olinger. Tony Randall was talking in my regular 1 p.m. chat room. I said WB gas to be big money. Disney bought Fox for 71 billion. So yes, I agree. Forehead kisses are very underrated as well. But yeah, so it just seems like our boy is, just wanting to get as much money as possible, which makes sense in the whole business side of things. But we did briefly talk about this part yesterday in regards to David Ellison, why he why Paramount Skydance wants to swallow Warner Brothers instead of like waiting. But as we all know, they completed the $8 billion takeover of Paramount Global 5 weeks ago. Before like the ink, as Dan said yesterday, before the ink was even dry, now they're setting their sights on WB in its entirety. David Ellison wants it for 70 billion, as the other, one said. And why now? So it's essentially, this is what the other thing was saying, and what we were saying yesterday was in regards to the fact that like they just want to boost as much value, as much money, as much stock in regards to this company. And if Paramount's not what they want, then they won't sign. And then obviously, if they get enough money, then they could just buy more content, which would hopefully boost up Warner Brothers even further than what they're already doing. So, this is kind of reiterating what we were kind of saying yesterday and what the New York Post article said. But a lot of people said with this alleged merger on the horizon, Hollywood wonders if this episode is a repeat. Very funny. As the industry and investors take stock of the entertainment colossus that could be created, however, the nagging thought occurs: have we seen this movie before? Disney, we were mentioning this yesterday. Disney's $71.3 billion acquisition. God, I cannot talk. I'm tired, guys. I am very tired. I did a lot today, and I didn't get any sleep. So their acquisition of 21st Century Fox in 2019 bears a few striking similarities to the current maneuvers, but that deal is largely considered to be a misfire. Yet the new version features the vast wealth of the Ellison family and the tech chops of Oracle in the background, spawning hope of a brighter future for traditional media in a challenging environment. quote unquote. So, you know, another echo is one veteran exec who has done deals with both companies told Deadline, the real play here is to control the control of a massive amount of IP. It just completely changes the leverage when you have everything from Harry Potter, HBO, and DC to Taylor Sheridan, Tom Cruise movies, and the NFL, like the Disney Fox transaction, the potential Paramount WBD merger. Also involves just one broadcast network, CBS versus ABC for Disney Fox, which is definitely not great, which would make it easier to get FCC approval for the transaction. While there would be considerable tonnage of general entertainment cable networks, the main difference between the current scenario and 2019 is that CNN would be part of the package. So it's definitely a big shuffle of, you know, everything, a lot of stuff to get into, something that I don't have a ton of knowledge on, but the main stuff is, uh, we were kind of talking about this yesterday, but this is what I'm mainly going to talk about here. Is the fact, like, is the DC part of things, because that's what people care about. This is DCU Daily, obviously. Um, Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Also, hi, Anthony. Lovely to see you. But here's the big thing. It would be the new merger's benefit to keep Peter Safran and James Gunn, which Dan was saying yesterday, as DC Studios heads, given how they just revitalized the brand with the $614 million dollar global grossing Superman. The duo has a long-term world-building plan for DC across movies and TV series. Although DC is a constant, there are many other variables in the equation. So it seems like if this were to happen, it seems like a positive note to you know, um that DC would be kept around in its current form. And then, of course, there's the Michael DeLuca, Pam Abdi situation. Dan was talking about how they revitalized MGM. Now they're kind of doing it here. We had 7 hits for WB in a row in this one year. So, that's definitely a whole bunch of stuff as well. And, there's the networks, there's like the assets that each have, like, there's so much that is owned by not just WB, but like HBO and like the animation side of things. That it's a lot of stuff. We will be talking about this again on Monday because there's just so much to talk about. And I am by myself right now. Maybe when Dan comes in, we can circle back to this if people are interested to talk about. Also, hello, Elite Easy E is in the chat. Lovely to see you, sir or madam. Always lovely to see you. So, I just wanted to like cover this again, because there's still a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about this on Monday. We're going to be like we're specifically this article because there's just so much. But Anthony's saying, John, I'm going to stick to my guns. It's unlikely that Skydance buys both WB and DC. I think it's more likely that it's going to be Apple or Amazon, so you avoid the complaints of a monopoly. Well, the thing is, Skydance doesn't own a lot. Meanwhile, Amazon owns MGM, so I feel like that would be more of a I mean, to be fair, anything seems monopoly-like, as long as it's not Disney. It would be impossible for Disney because, they own so much already. Apple makes more sense because they don't have their own. Apple would make the most sense out of all the players that were listed. Apple makes the most sense because they don't have any of their own, like, they don't have like old age IP. Like, Paramount has, which is owned by Viacom, was owned by Viacom, now obviously Skydance, but Skydance now owns Viacom. So it's like they have, that's hot. But they also have, there's the whole thing in regards to, they have Mission Impossible, they have like Nickelodeon, they have all this other stuff. Yes, it was. Yeah, exactly. Apple or Netflix don't have a back catalog. Netflix just licenses all their stuff. They don't outright buy it. Netflix doesn't have anything either, but I don't think I would want Netflix to own Warner Brothers. That would just be a recipe for disaster. Um, I know, that's what I'm saying. So Skydance, it would be more of a monopoly, but you also mentioned Amazon because Amazon owns MGM, so that's also a monopoly because they own another big company. So I don't want anybody to own everything. I want like many companies. Remember back in like the fucking like 50s when it was like 10, 11, 12, 13 movie studios, like big movie studios. Now that we're like down to what, 5? It's ridiculous. Right? And I agree. Netflix is messy. Well, the thing is, Netflix is licensed the rights to the Addams Family, but they don't own the Addams Family. Stranger Things and like maybe House of Cards and a couple others. It's just they don't have like really big. Stranger Things is Netflix's biggest thing. That's their really their golden goose. That's the thing that's still relevant. It created a like in terms of big franchise potential. Stranger Things is their golden goose. Yes, conglomerates then breakup. That's what happened with the studio system back in the 60s, and it revitalized everything. John, do you think it's a natural progression of things that some of these older studios are starting to go out of business because it's not financially sustainable in this economy? That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible. So, it's just a whole mess of stuff that, like no matter what, it feels like monopolies and all that shit. So, exactly. I think the best course of action would be Apple. Like, even though I hate Apple, and I fully agree with you that WB should still remain their own studio because they're technically the only. If you count Disney, they're one of two. But if you don't count Disney, they're still the only major golden age Hollywood studio left that is not owned by like another big conglomerate. So Discovery was a merger, but that's not a big like conglomerate like Amazon or Apple or all that shit. So there's that. Yeah, exactly. But I also agree with Robert Mayer Burnett from John Campea show that it eliminates the competition and having multiple studios pushes innovation. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that, but that's what they all say. But we will obviously be talking about this in the coming days. So, whatever it is, I feel like it's going to be a loss to somebody, mostly the consumers, at the end of the day. So let's move on to our next thing, smaller thing, because we'll circle back to this if people are interested. But the next thing is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. This is about the box office forecast. The Demon Slayer Infinity Castle film.
Hey, wait! I have something to say about all that.
Okay. I wasn't sure when you were coming in.
So, hi. I just wanted to point out. Okay, hello, hi.
Well, we gotta like introduce you properly with the name tag and hello. There he is.
That's me.
Hello.
Okay. Hello.
Perfect. Okay. I wasn't sure when you were coming in, so I'm like, let me try to move on before like we spend too much time on it.
Because I had the show playing. I was trying to get in in time, basically, before. But I was just gonna say, I think I don't know if you guys talked about this. Hey, Nelson. Feeling a bit better today. Still, painkillers and stuff. A little messy, but whatever. As you can see, wearing half the same clothes, but all good. I digress about myself. About this, as far as Paramount and Warner Brothers goes, I don't know if you guys talked about this, but some of the stuff in this article that I thought was really important was they're making comparisons to the Disney and Fox merger because some of the things are the same. Like between Disney and Fox, Disney wasn't buying Fox, the network television station Fox. They were only buying pretty much all the other stuff, minus Fox News and stuff like that. Whereas with here, like it's kind of similar. Warner Brothers doesn't own a network, so there's no FCC rules that they're breaking. Great to see you too, Patrick. And everybody else, M2G, Tony, got Anthony in the chat. Hello, Anthony. I know you've been asking questions and stuff. And to address what you said earlier, Anthony, about the Robert My Burnett on the John Campea show, it does. Here's the thing. I think what he was referring to, because Robert My Burnett or RMB, he's somebody who's worked as a producer and a director in Hollywood for a long time. And in this article, John, they mentioned, and I'm sure you talked about it or you read it before, they have like agents in the industry, like agents and producers in the industry who go to these events. Like, we have all these film markets and all these big.
But those aren't major networks, by the way.
Right. Well, when we say major network, we're talking about broadcast networks, as in there's like four. You've got ABC. You've got CBS, you've got, and again, this is America. So I know some of you guys watch from abroad, so we're talking American like television. So, but used to be over the air, and hi Tony. Now it's like digital, but you can get those for free. You could just plug in a tuner to your television. You can get them over the air for free. It's CBS, it's not TNT, CBS, NBC, ABC, and Fox. Fox is the newest one, relatively speaking. They're all like decades old now, but so between Paramount and Warner Brothers, there's only one, and that's CBS, owned by Paramount, Skydance. So that won't be an issue. Also, if you guys remember back in 2018, there was a huge fight between the previous administration, at the previous iteration of the current administration, about when AT&T was buying Warner Brothers at the time, and that they wanted them to like jettison CNN. So I have a feeling like if this goes through, that Paramount, Skydance, known for, doing already stuff to make deals happen, including buying, closing out the Paramount Skydance merger, and we have talked about that. I have a feeling if it came down to it, they'd be more likely to jettison CNN than AT&T was back in 2018. So that could be something that would happen. Now, going back to the point that RMB was making, hey, we appreciate that, Nelson. Better than the mafia. But the idea would be that for a lot of producers, a lot of indie producers, indie filmmakers already are complaining, and rightfully so. The whole idea that when you go to these film markets, you go to all these festivals like Cannes and Toronto and stuff, you have a lot of movies that are looking for distribution. Right? I mean, the highest profile distribution situation that we have talked about in recent times is the Megalopolis. And no studio wanted to promote, a Francis Ford Coppola movie because they were like, nobody's gonna like. Nobody wanted to distribute it in theaters. Nobody's gonna go watch this in movie theaters. So here, I think you're gonna end up in a situation, John, and I'm sure like it's pretty simple. There's 5 or 6 big studios. They all go and buy these like small pictures. Like Anora was a picture that was independently produced and financed. Then it got bought by one of the big studios. I forget if it was Focus or whoever bought it.
Neon.
Obviously, Neon. And so like Neon, A24, you have others that are, beyond like the big 4 or 5 or 5 or 6, whatever, depending on if you count Lionsgate as a major or mid-major. Then you have like the smaller ones as well. But with one less company, because now that Disney has, 20th Century Studios, basically Disney goes in and says, all right, we're going to buy this for 20th Century Studios. This is for Searchlight Pictures. This is for, Disney proper, which is rare. Like Disney, usually anything that's labeled Disney, animation or something that's coming out from at the studio level. So ultimately what would happen is if Warner Brothers and Paramount are all under one umbrella, like it's one less buyer in the market. And so if you are in the industry making movies and telling stories, you have one less, buyer and one less significant buyer. Like Warner Brothers is, like we've talked about, John, right? Like Warner Brothers is Warner Brothers Pictures. There's New Line Cinema. There's well, Liz will be back soon. We don't have an exact date yet, but you have DC Studios. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 different studios, and then there's stuff like HBO too. Sometimes has movies that they acquire just for streaming or on the HBO network that you can still get access to your cable subscription. So that's a big deal. But I mean, hey, you know what? it's like that whole thing of Disney's like, we have got Marvel, and now Warner Brothers, Paramount potentially could say we've got Tom Cruise, because Tom went from Paramount to Warner Brothers, now potentially back to Paramount Skydance. So And there's a lot of IP though, John. Can you imagine like cross promoting SpongeBob with Superman? Like this version of Superman, especially. I mean, but aside from that, I think the big thing I wanted to get your opinion on, John, was in this article they point out that the industry insiders are sort of happy, and to a certain degree, about the idea that with Skydance being the one that obviously they're trying to get ahead of a bidding war that David Zaslav wants, which I'm sure you've talked about, right? Or you were gonna. It's the whole thing. His whole goal here is that he wants there to be a bidding war for the company that he's gonna split up in half, and basically he's gonna be in charge of all the streaming and studios that are HBO. I talked about like Warner Brothers Pictures, DC Studios, all the big stuff, and the networks will be their own thing. And David Zaslav wants Apple, Amazon to bid for it. He even has checked in with the company's banking institution that works with them on this stuff, Goldman Sachs, which helped them close the Warner Brothers Discovery. They're the ones who kind of made that deal happen. So they've already checked in to figure out like, hey, who wants to pay up, Amazon, Netflix, or Apple, or whoever else. And the whole reason why Paramount Skydance wants in now, even to absorb all the other, cable networks that would be gone as a different company by next April, is because they want to avoid the bidding war. In the sports world, they're trying to put in a bigger offer now so that it can get accepted, and then they can decide how they want to take some of the pieces that they get and sell them off, or get a better deal on a trade, basically, if you were talking about it in sports term, American sports terms. Or I guess in European soccer terms, it's like if Man United went and tried to bid on a player from Valencia and pay his buyout clause because they didn't want to have to get into a bidding war the following summer when the player's contract expires, and he can choose really any team, and they just whichever team pays him the most. I guess it's something to that effect. So they're trying to avoid that. Now, the upside here that some industry insiders see, they think that if Paramount Skydance gets a hold of Warner Brothers, hey, right, dude, versus let's say all the other buyers potentially, they are more likely to keep a lot more of Warner Brothers Discovery's assets together, because they so far have shown a willingness. I mean, remember, John, we talked about it after the merger. We know NBC Universal spun off a lot of their cable networks. We know Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be doing it by next April. They've already made that pretty much official. But Paramount Skydance decided against it. They're not selling off Nickelodeon. They're not selling off Comedy Central. They're not selling off all of their cable networks. So, I mean, I'd imagine that it's more like, at least the industry insiders are thinking it's more likely a good thing for traditional media, media, television or movie media, that with the money that the Ellison, family has, that is clearly backing this potential bid, that if Warner Brothers is to get sold for parts and acquired by another company, it may be better that Paramount Skydance does it than, let's say, an Amazon, which might have different plans, or Apple or Netflix. The interesting thing, however, is, John, if you're a fan of the Warner Brothers backlot, which might get piecemealed and sold off, none of Amazon, Apple, or Netflix have their own traditional Hollywood backlots. They have production spaces and studios all across the US and other parts of the world. But remember, not only do you get the backlot in Burbank, you would get Warner Brothers Leavesden, where they're building those huge sets for the Harry Potter series, and they're expanding it, and where DC Studios is going to film a lot of their stuff. All of that would be also, coming in as part of the sale. So, John, how would you look at this? Would you rather that another company that doesn't have all those backlots, those physical assets, and not just the IP, obviously the IP everybody wants, but those physical assets, would you want somebody like an Apple, Amazon, Netflix to get it? Do you think they're going to still sell it off because they don't think they need it? Or do you think it's better that Paramount Skydance gets Warner Brothers, and then maybe they don't, maybe they will sell off the Burbank lot and keep the Leavesden one in the UK because, and they already have the Paramount lot? Like, how would you rather go about it? Because it doesn't matter which way you go, whoever buys it will get DC Studios and all the other IP, Harry Potter. It's more just those physical assets and what they will do with it, because Apple, Amazon, Netflix might have different plans than what Paramount might have.
Obviously, we'll have to wait and see in regards to that. But yeah, that could be beneficial for them. But I would just feel like, as I was saying before, it just feels like no matter what is done, somebody loses. I feel like, and I feel like that's going to be the consumers at this point. Um, you know, I just think
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah.
but yeah, I think like in terms of all the ones that were mentioned here, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, I think Apple makes the most sense, even though I don't really trust Apple because like I feel like while they are like fucking just duking out fucking Emmy award winning shows left and right, their movies kind of fucking blow. So, it's just that's the thing that's a little shaky for me. So maybe with all this IP that they'll finally start making good movies, but Netflix, no, and Amazon, they have MGM, so I feel like it's it's just weird, and again, I don't trust Amazon. So, um, essentially, yes, but this one also mentioned that that his goal is to propel the stock price to possibly $40 a share. It closed Thursday just above $16 with a market value of 40 billion. If Zaslav can't get the price he's seeking, a source said he plans to use the appreciation of his stock price to buy more content. So essentially, if somebody doesn't offer the price he wants for WB, then he'll just use it to buy more content. So that is essentially so you're technically correct. That's what he wants to do the most. But if he won't get that from Ellison, which I'm assuming Ellison is going to be like, he's like, I want this amount of money, and Ellison's like, okay, this is pennies to me. Get the fuck out of my face.
They've got the money. Got the money.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't think price will be an issue. I think if the Ellisons do make, aka Paramount Skydance makes a bid, they're gonna want to make a winning bid. They're not here to fool around, right? Like if you look back, if you remember, the bid that they made for Paramount was far and away the most cash rich deal, and that had the best financial outcomes in terms of like removing a lot of the debt from Paramount, and then also making a commitment to invest billions of dollars in more content. And then in general, you're getting an owner that's got the money. They're not coming in and becoming house poor by buying the company per se. So yeah, and then to address Anthony's question, because I know you were asking about it, I think David Ellison is going to come in, and he's brought in a lot of new leadership over at Paramount, but the thing is, Paramount overall as a company was not doing the best. I think Warner Brothers I think replacing some of those executives was not just because he wanted to bring in his own people. I think he wanted to bring in people he thought could do the job well. I don't think, for example, in that other article, John, in the Hollywood Reporter, I think it was, they talked about how Casey Bloys, who's been running HBO for 10 years and has created a really successful streaming service that was previously just HBO on television, and now it is HBO Max, and it's one of the most successful ones in the world. Of course, it still has all the HBO content. If you go back to the article, I'm forgetting the name of the person that runs Paramount Television now, but the person who runs Paramount Television was basically in charge of Netflix, when they were building their original, TV franchises, things like Stranger Things or even like House of Cards and stuff. So between those two executives, how do you pick one or the other? Like, because they're going to look at reporting to one or the other as like a downgrade. So whether it is, Cindy Holland, who's the chair of the direct-to-consumer for Paramount Plus, which is of course their streaming service, or it's Casey Bloys, who runs HBO Max, all things HBO at Warner Brothers, they will either keep them as two separate divisions, or if they combine them somehow, then I think, they're going to have to figure out like, well, one of those people will end up leaving, or they'll get, promoted into some, basically they're not going to report into each other. So while I do think that there's a possibility that, they'll remove some leadership and swap it out with some others, Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca have shown so far that they can take Warner Brothers Pictures, a flailing Warner Brothers Pictures, and turn it around. And that's not even the first time they did it. They did it before at MGM. Speaking of Amazon, MGM went through bankruptcy in the 2010s. And many casualties, including my favorite Stargate franchise, went off the air and hasn't been back since because the company was in bankruptcy. Oh, be right back.
So yeah, it's just I don't think so. But Dan keep popping the Flintstones. Yes, very much so. But yeah, he's going to take a call for right now. So yeah, it's just it just feels like there are so many moving parts, so many moving pieces, and it feels like, as I've said this before, no matter who wins, it feels like somebody's going to lose, and that loss is going to be felt by mainly the consumers. So, it just, I don't really know. I don't really know what else to say in regards to this. I don't have a ton of insight, uh, but
Thank you, Nelson.
yes, um, but yeah, I think
I mean, John, I think if Apple got into a bidding war, they're most likely to win, unless it's just they're not willing to put up the most money. Because Apple and Apple has a pretty good relationship with Warner Brothers already, having distributed F1 for them. So yeah, but yeah, I know
I don't think
this
Disney
is.
is ever being
I'll,
put up for sale. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So
yeah, this is not my actual apartment. It's well, what you can see isn't, but it's it's a work in progress. It doesn't look. I don't know. I guess it will look. Maybe it could look as good. You don't know that. You don't know that. I will. I will have to wait and see. Holotech. John, do you think we should launch an app? Like, should we launch an app?
what would the app be about? Like,
I don't know. We'll think about it. We'll get that.
we're still struggling to fucking open the Discord that we never did. So like,
well,
yeah, poor
okay.
Temple. They're like, fuck this. I'm not gonna deal with the not having the Discord, and they fucking like left and unsubscribed. So or whatever they did.
All right. Well, hey, you know what, guys? Let us know what you think of all the no apps, says Monique. All the different ways this can go. Are you excited for a potential merger? I got a delivery to go get. I'll be back, John. Keep on going.
Okay. Keep on keeping on. But yeah, so that's all we have to say right now for this. We're gonna be talking about it again on Monday. Is because there's reports that came out last year in the Business Journal and saying that the reason why the board of Disney wanted Bob Iger is because they want him to sell Disney Studios but keep the theme parks. Yeah, I could see that happening because the parks are pretty much the thing that's parks and merchandise are the things that are really sustaining Disney right now. Because literally everything else is a loss for them. Like the movies, TV, streaming, everything is at a loss. Meanwhile, the thing that makes money is the parks. It's like that's it. It's the parks and merchandise from said parks, and of course other merchandise as well. But it would just be funny that like they sell the thing they're making merchandise for, and then what do they got to license that? Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, at the same time, they're not so because they're seeing where the money is. Like every Disney movie, almost every Disney movie, like 90% of them have been flops. Like Lilo and Stitch was the biggest one, but every Marvel movie this year was a flop. They haven't made a Disney movie. They haven't made a Star Wars movie since 2019, and and Disney Plus has been a loss for years. I think they just started making a profit recently.
No,
but even then, that's pushing it.
It's been a year, I think, that but it's relatively recent. Yes, yeah. But I mean, that's true across a lot of streaming services. Netflix was the first one to get there, but it took Netflix over a decade from when they started doing streaming only to really. Streaming is here's the thing about streaming. It's a volume game, right? It's about how much money you spend making the content versus the overhead that you need for all the technology that runs the streaming service, like all the everything in the background that runs to make sure you can watch Netflix, and then hold all that content, make it available all over the world, and then the only thing you have to pay for all of those things and make a profit is the subscriptions that people pay for. So you can literally take the number of subscribers that Netflix has times whatever version of the subscription they have, and that's how much money they're making. So this is where I think traditionally Hollywood had a much better distribution, business model where you would go watch a movie in the movie theater, makes studio money. Then you would make money when you sell it on digital, on Blu-ray. Then you sell the rights to a streaming to somebody, or to put it on your own service. Then you have international rights with others. Nowadays, it's like, like if it's on a streaming service, the streaming services all over the world. Like it's reduced the amount. Matt Damon has a really good interview that he did one time, and he explained how movies just don't have that aftermarket, that ancillary revenue potential anymore the way they used to. And I think that's slowly but surely, like advertising is sneaking to streaming. I think a lot of those other elements will come back. We're going to go in a circle. It's cyclical. It's all happened before. It'll all happen again.
I mean, that's who said that before.
So.
I feel somebody said that previously. It's like conglomerates will break, conglomerates then breakups, and it's yeah. Somebody mentioned
like
that
going
before.
all the way back to AT&T. Remember when AT&T first got broken up? Not the current AT&T, the original AT&T. If you guys have been around long enough, you don't even have to. You probably heard of the Bell. What was it? The I forget the name. It was basically AT&T, but not the AT&T we know today. Like they owned the phone lines in America. They provided the service, and like when Verizon started up, they basically had to pay AT&T to use their towers and stuff. And then they got broken up because they're a monopoly. And I mean, before that, Standard Oil. Like most of the American oil companies can trace their lineage back to Standard Oil. They were like the monopoly. So it's all happened before. It will all happen again. Yeah, see Bell South, Atlantic Bell, exactly. Bell, that was it. In fact, I mean, hey, you know what? In Severance, they used the Bell HQ, like whatever. I forget how. I know they're connected to the original company, but the office building that they work at and the parking lot that's like a Bell. I forget the exact full name of the building, but it's owned by like one of the spin-offs from that, which is kind of cool. I know a lot of you guys probably already know this, but anyway, I think this is a topic we could spend another whole show on, John. But like last night, we spent a good amount of time, and I'm sure there'll be more updates and developments, and we can continue the conversation. In the meantime, you guys let us know. Are you more or less excited about a potential merger or buyout or takeover of Warner Brothers by Paramount Skydance? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Cool. But next thing we got to talk about the box office. Essentially, the upcoming box office. Yeah. Hello. We're gonna be talking about box office forecast. The main thing, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle forecasts are still wild, but anime opening record is definite. So, the new installment in the Demon Slayer saga anime is apparently a beast. On the conservative, it's looking to make a $28 million opening on Friday, including the $11.4 million in previews, which it did say before, but I think I refreshed it and they changed the headline. And a 45 million 3-day cum at 3,300 theaters, which is, definitely certainly a record. Dan, I don't know if you have any thought. Do you watch Demon Slayer by any chance?
Not personally, but I mean, we've been hearing about how well this thing broke records in Japan, and now it's coming, into the US, and it's doing really well. Like didn't it just set an anime record for opening a weekend?
Yes.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It is wild. You love to see it. I'm more of an anime fan today than I was a year or two ago. Fiona's had that effect on me, and honestly, I mean, I enjoy it. I think I get the comparisons that live action Bollywood movies are kind of like anime to a certain degree, and not every anime will hit you the same, but it's Demon Slayer is really popular. I'm not surprised, and then look, Sony is behind it, so we know Sony's made a huge investment, continues to do so, whether it's through Crunchyroll and all the other efforts that they have around anime shows, movies, and especially theatrical. So this being called, being one of the highest grossing animes of all time, I'm not surprised. I mean, Mario Fifth Warrior's there saying it was peak. Hello, Mario. Jose is still stuck on season 1, and yeah, Monique, exactly. It's about good storytelling. My favorite anime right now is the Apothecary Diaries. I have no idea if any of you guys have heard of it. You can see it on Netflix, and then it's also on Crunchyroll. So I've been watching that. I enjoy that. It's kind of fun. So yeah, Demon Slayer is great. Johnny says that these 3 movies are the series finale. There you go. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like the Conjuring Last Rites, you know, like it broke records because people were like, this might be it. And you could see the same sentiment as there, the finality of it all. So hey, Marco, hello. By the way, Marco wants a Portuguese. What did you say, Marco? In one of the comments, he was like, "Let's get a Portuguese." Was it Nightwing? Or no, Portuguese Wolverine. I think in the Fancast Friday, Marco wanted a Portuguese Wolverine.
Yeah,
if you have an actor in mind,
we haven't even gotten a Canadian Wolverine yet. Let's try to get like the guy what he actually is first, and then let's move on to more experimental casting. But
Fair
yeah,
enough.
sure, maybe.
All right. Anthony was asking about a DC character thing. If they do live action character studies for characters like Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, what genres that are not horror would you put them in? I mean, Mr. Freeze could be a crime thriller easily. Scarecrow could be like a fantasy film. You can really embrace the fantasy of it all. Two-Face could be a legal drama. You know, it's Harvey Dent. Why not? Poison Ivy could be an erotic thriller because I can't think of anything else right now. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that works.
So there you go. Yeah, those are all hopefully good answers. I mean, you could put Poison Ivy in a musical too, I guess, Tony. So, well, I mean, you know, like I'm sure you can find somebody who could give Rachel Zegler I think Rachel Zegler could play a great Poison Ivy, and she's on Broadway.
Oh God, no! Don't.
Actually, no, she's in the West End coming. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Personally, Ruth Wilson is my choice for Poison Ivy, but you know that's just me.
Tony's already got a Canadian for you. He said, "I mean, is pretty much it."
Here's the thing: that was if Wolverine happened, that was going to be one of my choices. Like Jared Keeso, people have been saying for years he's the perfect guy to play Wolverine. Although he might be a little bit too old now, but who gives a fuck? Like he would be perfect.
Hey, Hunter.
Yep. But
in terms of
the rest of the box office, Conjuring Last Rites estimation is coming in at almost $30 million. The third is going to be the new Downton Abbey movie, which is about $20 million. The Long Walk, which is estimated to look about like 10 to 14 million. And then obviously, you know, Disney's re-release of Toy Story is 1 million, which is it's not a lot. But
by the way, Conjuring's making what, 30? Did you say?
Almost 30.
What was the number?
Almost 30. It's 29.7 specifically.
But it debuted to what was it was a record breaking, right? It was like 90 million something.
Yeah,
right?
It's the third biggest opening for a horror
second,
movie.
I think.
With
wasn't it
no third because the other two
third.
were both It movies. Was It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2.
I mean, internationally, worldwide, it was the biggest horror opening, if I remember correctly. That's not bad. I mean, 65% off the first weekend for a horror movie that way overperformed is completely still mind blowing to think about. So, the Conjuring making plenty of money. So,
yeah.
Tony's like, I don't care about height. Give me Jared Kesso for Wolverine. Yeah, I mean, John, the box office is doing better than we expected. Primarily because of, like, you're talking about Demon Slayer, Conjuring. We thought September was going to be dead, but here we are, you know, setting records. So, horror and anime. So, you know what? People will go watch good stories, like Monique was saying. So, Patrick asking, what Superman villain do you think can work in their movie as a thriller? Oh, what villain would you make a thriller out of? I guess a Superman villain thriller, like if it was a Joker movie, but except it was a Superman villain instead. I suppose you could do like a young Zod movie. I don't know. I'm sure you guys can come
Colonel
up with
Zod, like they did in fucking Smallville.
I forgot that Jor-El was played by Christopher Heyerdahl in Smallville. He was like Todd the Wraith and many other characters in Stargate. I loved him. And I think he was really underrated as a character actor on television back when, you know, television had 20 episodes a season. So
good times.
But yeah, John, to wrap this up, I think MTG is saying it perfectly well here, putting it about as well as anybody could have. Hopefully, there are a few more fall surprises for the box office. I even want Tron to do well because, I mean, honestly, I don't care if it's good. I like Tron, Ares doing well would not only help Disney, but also I think it would help lift up the
Fuck
box
Disney.
office.
Fuck them. Fuck what they did to Joseph Kaczynski. And I hope F1 absolutely fucking buries Tron because it's an ultimate fuck you. Like, okay, you don't do my Tron 3, but you get the guy who fucking did Dead Men Tell No Tales instead, and you get a fucking cult leader, fucking sexual assaulter as your star. Eat my dick. I made more money than a Superman movie. Fuck you. So, fuck Tron, Ares. I hope it crashes and burns. Fuck you, Disney. So, I'm just going to say that right now. Anyway, now, speaking of Disney, let's move on to the MCU side of things with a little bit of Doom. We will be talking Doom. And apparently we have a little bit more promo art, guys. We talked a little bit yesterday where it was at the thing in China. I think it was like a marketing expo or something like that. I think that's what it was.
In Shanghai.
Yes. So, we're getting a decent look at the costume and cloak once again. It's apparently it is it's gonna look like this, maybe, hopefully. Well, not hopefully. I mean, it looks like typical Marvel vibes, but like with the classic costumes. So I think it looks good. I don't know if it's real or not. We'll have to wait and see. But what? No. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you showing me? What are you showing
I think she was mad about the Tron take. That's
Oh, fuck Tron. Tron's lame. I mean, the thing is about Tron, even if the movies were good before this point, like Tron was never like a big like money maker for Disney. Like they never like made huge amounts of money. So the fact that they're like, "Oh yeah, we're really investing in this one." It's like, "Why though? Why?" Anyway, yeah, he's box office poison. But literal poison too. So yeah, this is what Doomsday might be looking like. Could be cool. We'll see. This is the full picture, by the way, with Buzz and Spooderman. But yeah, good stuff. I don't know if you guys care about this, but yeah, could be interesting if this is exactly what he looks like. But we're still gonna keep the Doomsday train going.
That is a good
Apparently,
point, by the way. MTG making
What's
that
that?
maybe they're using a body double because RDJ can't fill out that bodysuit. Like I don't think RDJ is going to be swole enough to look that swole that like Doom does in there. So
yeah. But yeah, but we will be moving on to another piece of Doomsday news. Is apparently they might adapt a certain scene from Secret Wars, the new Secret Wars that is. Just the unforgettable scene where God Doom essentially just ripped out Thanos' spine and killing him, showcasing that guy that we built up for 10 years that killed the Avengers. Nah, he a bitch. Nothing against Doom. But yeah, just I don't know what's on my keyboard right now, but yeah, I think kind of looks cool. I mean, I'm not going to be watching this shit, so I couldn't really care less. But for all you people that do care, then I hope you're happy with this because I don't know, could be interesting if people are interested enough. So yeah, but it was like part of their light show. There was also a couple other things. Like this was the whole thing. Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and but yeah, was the light show at this panel. So, God, taking fucking forever. Anyway, so this is but it's fucking 3 minutes, guys. I'm not gonna be watching the whole thing. But if you want to watch it, it's still on the internet before they, take it down. Um, you know, um It's not. It's just this is what real the rumor mill. Because I mentioned that yesterday. I did mention that yesterday. How it's like, okay, but Spider-Man doesn't look like the movie, so I don't know what this means for that. Yeah, because it just goes to show how much of a fucking little bitch boy Thanos really is. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, he's the greatest villain ever. Is he though? I mean, like, come on. In the comic, he sucked. In the movies, he sucked. Thanos is a bitch. Like, come on now. But speaking of Spider-Man, we got a new trailer for Marvel Zombies. But speaking of Thanos, Spider-Man fights an undead Thanos in this little ditty. So, obviously we're not going to be showing the trailer here, but we do get Scarlet Witch, Queen of the Dead, and that kind of thing. So, this is I don't have a ton of faith in Marvel anymore, but this is one of the few things that um definitely has people interested, has people intrigued with it. So, exactly. Exactly. Spider-Man is a constant. He's always a constant. Star Wars, I'm not, but DC stuff, yeah, I'm excited for. So maybe, but it has to be like God Doom because that was the whole thing. I mean, I love both, but it's just like Marvel has scorned me way too many times while DC was kind of like just in like a limbo kind of thing. I mean, yeah, I like two of their movies in 2023 and two others sucked, so like there's that. Um no, I don't think he is, but that's beside the point. But yeah, a little bit more Marvel news. But moving on from Marvel to other franchises, we got a new the title for the Mario movie just came out. While many alleged that it was going to be Super Mario World, well, apparently no, they're skipping the world and they're going straight to the goddamn galaxy. All right, so it is apparently going to be an adaptation of a Super Mario Galaxy, and it's going to be called the Super Mario Galaxy movie. The voice cast, Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, Jack Black, Keegan-Michael Key, and Kevin Michael Richardson all are coming back. Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic were also earlier revealed to direct the sequel after they helmed the first movie. And this is, the whole tent pole of the, Mario universe type shit. And the animated pic will be released on April 24th, 2026 in Japan, with select territories rolling out that month. So, very exciting to see.
It's going to be released a bit earlier in the US though, right? April, was it 3rd in 2026?
I think so. Yeah, like I'm honest, I saw the little teaser. I'm genuinely, excited for this. I think I love the first movie. I thought that did everything right in terms of a video game adaptation where they just kind of took like it was kind of like a lot of world building, and then, they eventually had like a good concrete story, but still like they brought DK in, they brought this thing, they brought that thing. So it felt like a Mario Brothers movie. I wish it wasn't like another isekai kind of thing, but the reverse. On like the Super Mario Brothers movie in the 90s. But overall, it was still a great movie, and I'm genuinely excited for Super Mario Galaxy. So exactly. But should be safe. And although we have more franchise to talk about, Variety did a scorecard in terms of where all these film franchises stand. We have creative health and market saturation. The most in terms of both seems to be James Bond, while the least of both seems to be Star Trek, which is, pretty obvious.
Well, if you zoom into this, I was gonna say, because we can then take a look. So on the x-axis, you got creative health,
Yeah,
So the higher up you are, the more right. And then on the y-axis is commercial potential. So like you said, John, James Bond seems to be the healthiest and has the greatest commercial potential, which all credit to Daniel Craig and the teams behind those recent Bond movies that he did. Look, MCU and Star Wars kind of stuck where they clearly have a lot of potential, but maybe the creative health isn't all that good. I'm surprised Star Trek is where it is, but I get it. It's not as recognizable an IP, but to be behind the
and
Hunger
usually
Games, come on.
and Star Trek usually thrives on TV rather than in the
Right.
movies. So everything else here is like movie stuff, like like Jurassic Park and all that shit. Which I'm surprised I mean, I would expect creative health to be lower for Jurassic Park because it's just like it just feels like one of these movies where it's just like they just keep making movies after shitty movies after shitty movies. So like no matter what, you had the great movie and then everything else sucked. So Mission Impossible is pretty low, which makes sense because The Final Reckoning is supposed to be the final movie. So we'll see how that goes. But
I mean, if they didn't
also
tell
Friday
you
the 13th Part
20
4
in the
was supposed to be
movie,
the final movie, and look how that turned out. And Last Crusade was supposed to be the last movie. So like
I mean, and,
we'll
Tom
see.
Cruise probably is immortal, so like he's probably gonna be back. I'm just, I mean, seeing DC where it is though, that's kind of nice. Like DC is doing quite well. I mean, it's not as the circle is not as big, which means that market saturation isn't there. I think that's a big red flag for Star Wars and the MCU because that means they don't really have as much room to grow as DC does, for example, right? So, I like that. A Bond, I think it depends on where you sit with, as far as your awareness of the franchise, but also like how much you like the Craig Bond movies. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, John, any big surprises here for you?
Not
in terms
really.
of
No,
the
everything. I would say Hunger Games is kind of low because they still have at least one more movie, but maybe just because they have one more book. And I don't think Suzanne Collins is going to make any more books. It just, it just doesn't seem like it. Because like, what else is there to say? I mean, I'm sure she could probably make another book, but like, it's pretty unlikely. And Francis Lawrence probably wants, especially with how the success of Long Walk is, and we'll talk about that in a minute. He probably wants to do like other movies that aren't just Hunger Games sequels. So we'll see about
which is
that.
understandable. But yeah, cool. Well, it's gonna be it's interesting to see how this might change over time. I mean, it's a weird chart in the sense that unless you know what exactly it's telling you, because it's kind of hard to decode at first glance. But basically, they're telling us that like MCU and Marvel and Star Wars are sort of at a bit of an impasse creatively, sort of stuck in the middle. They're also their market saturation is really high, meaning like they don't have as many new fans to be to be made. But they're still making a lot of money, which is why they're up on the commercial potential. So I guess if they can be more creative in the coming years, which is not a surprise, both Star Wars and Marvel could, make even more money. So I just think like DC is in a pretty good spot. That's probably the Goldilocks zone, if there was one on this chart, where they're pretty high up on both, but the market saturation is pretty low, meaning there's a lot of new DC fans to be had, John, and I think that's a positive to look at. And even James Bond in a similar situation, even higher up with even less awareness, so they can grow the franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of did give each one their rankings, so you guys are welcome to find this on Variety and go through it. If you want to have us kind of do more of a breakdown per franchise, we can do that on Monday and spend more time on it. I think today we just spent a lot of time on that first story, so we got to move on. But
yeah. We do have one more thing. This is the newest breaking news, but I wanted to talk about it really quickly. But Sean Astin has now officially been elected as, this was the big breaking news. I literally saw this like right before we went live.
I know him. Where do I know him from? Sean Astin.
Samwise Gamgee, you fucking Jesus. Bob from Stranger Things, Doug from 50 First Dates.
Yes,
Like,
Bob. Okay, Bob.
come on,
yes.
Samwise means Rudy, Rudiger, you damn pleb, goddamn. What do you mean? Jesus. I met him. He's great. He's a wonderful man.
That's good. That's one you got on Liz. I maybe, I don't know. Maybe Liz met him too.
She probably met him like 5 times. Like,
oh shit! That Rudy. Okay, yes, he was Rudy. Okay, yes, there we go. Now, yep.
Goonies, Never
Okay.
Die, and he's going to succeed Fran Drescher, who stepped down, and
he
it
was in
seems
Lord
like
of
the
the
perfect
Rings.
choice.
Yeah.
We can't carry we can't carry the unions for you, but we will carry you. Anyway, that doesn't make sense, but I tried.
Well, I mean, Fran Drescher, retiring finally, and there you go.
But yeah, this and Michelle Hurd wins the Secretary Treasurer. So it is very nice that it seems like that SAG-AFTRA. I think that's true. I think it's true. I think you need. You know what you need, Dan? You need these magic drops. You need to clean your glasses. Anyway, but
that is my favorite comment of the day. I probably do have white guy blindness. It's like.
It's Tim Meadows, he has bird blindness. Dan, he has white guy blindness. Man, is that Daniel Radcliffe? Like, just,
Is that Sean Astin? No, that looks like Sean Penn. Sean Bean? They all look the same to me. I don't know.
But Dan's racist, guys. Hello.
First of all, you guys are blaming me. You guys are alleging that I am racist. No proof whatsoever.
Anyway, but very nice to see, just kind of like a quick little thing, but he has been elected, and I'm sure it seems like that SAG-AFTRA is in good hands, so congrats to him. I'm sure he will do great things with that.
Yeah. Is that a penguin? No, that must be Austin Butler. There you go. Whew, I am battling a headache. All right, guys, let's keep on going.
Let's keep on going, because now we got some movie talk madness to get into. No Liz today, but I saw movies today for the first time since August 30th. That was the last time I saw a movie in theaters, which was the re-release of Jaws, but in terms of a 2025 release was mid-August. So I finally got back to the movies, and I saw The Long Walk, and I saw continues. So we are going to be getting into The Long Walk first. Dan can go take a power nap and fucking just double fist Dayquil and Advil. This was a movie I had been anticipating for a long while. This is one of those movies. It was apparently in development hell for 20 years or something. Frank Darabont wanted to make it for a really long time, since at least the mid to late 2000s. But he just, couldn't get it off the ground. And, it has gone through multiple directors. And yeah, it finally got made with Francis Lawrence at the helm. Speaking of Hunger Games, the man who has done the last 5, and is doing the upcoming Sunrise on the Reaping.
Real quick, are you gonna be doing spoilers or not? The people want to know.
I'm gonna there's gonna be the lightest of spoilers, but it's just a quick mention, but still, I'm not gonna be getting into them majorly, but I'm just gonna mention one quick thing that could be a spoiler, but I'm not gonna go into it.
Put up the spoiler warning banner when you get to that part of the review.
Yes. So I will do that. I will be talking about the book. Anyway. So, and it's written by J.T. Molnar, who's hot off the success of the indie hit Strange Darling. So this was an adaptation of the Richard Bachman novel, which was the pen name for Stephen King when he wanted to publish much darker stuff, not under his own name. So he published it under Richard Bachman, which also holds Rage, Thinner, Roadwork, and The Running Man. I have I actually have the collection of the Bachman books right here. I've been trying to hopefully now I'm gonna read the book, but this one includes the first four. These were made without the knowledge that Bachman was king. These were made these were made when nobody knew that Richard Bachman and Stephen King were the same person. However, Thinner was the last one, but that was at a point where people knew, and he explained it in that novel. So, yeah. So I'm not gonna be like getting into that, but yeah, look, oh God, such a great Dolby Cinemas. They know how to fucking make a good poster. But with all that, I was heavily anticipated for this. We two other Stephen King adaptations we've gotten this year are The Monkey and Life of Chuck, which I both gave 5 out of 5s on Letterboxd, and it is safe to say that The Long Walk is yet another addition to the 5 out of 5 2025 Stephen King adaptation collection. I had high expectations for this, yet somehow they were still surpassed. I was absolutely and completely in awe with how absolutely exceptional this movie was. Like, I expected greatness, I expected excellence, and I got something even greater. This is one of the best movies I have seen all year. This bumped Weapons out of my top 5. This is my number 4 pick of the year. It bumped F1 out of its number 4 spot. This honestly, and I might put it higher if it gets better the more I think about it, but I would just like to say, people like Dan, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, horror movies are not your thing. People like who are not into horror movies, you are going to hate this movie. It is a brutal and unrelenting, disturbing experience. This movie's fucked up. There were many points throughout this movie where I wanted to fucking puke. And I'm saying that as, the horror guy. I have, Evil Dead, which is one of the most disgusting movies ever made. I have The Thing, my favorite movie of all time. And this movie disturbed me to my core. This movie made me want to fucking puke. This movie it's gorier. Maybe not gore, because you do have that opening scene, but it does have that grounded, disturbing levels of fucked up. And with that, the cast is excellent. This movie hinged on the chemistry between characters. Cooper Hoffman, who ironically worked, his father, Philip Seymour Hoffman, worked with Francis Lawrence on 2 of the Hunger Games movies, so now Francis Lawrence is working with his son. And Cooper Hoffman, yes, Nepo baby, but he has since proved that, much like John David Washington and Jack Quaid, they are not just someone who is famous because of their name. They are becoming famous because they are excellent actors. So this further proves that it's not worse than Warfare in terms of the goriness and fucked upness. I would say Warfare is more disturbing, but this terrified me more. This movie horrified me. This scene is, and this is in the first opening 10 minutes of the movie. They show a lot of shit. There's a lot of child murder in this. And you know me, I love my child murder because, and I joking aside, the reason I say that is, one, it's funny because, whoa, child murder, that's crazy. But I feel like child murder, it shows that your movie fucking means business. Like, for instance, one of the inciting incident of Assault on Precinct 13 is a little kid gets shot and there's blood. And yes, Mark Hamill, you don't see him a ton in this movie, but his presence is there, and he's just a fucking bastard. You just fucking love hate him. And I think Cooper Hoffman, as I mentioned, did a fucking phenomenal job, but I don't know the actor who played Peter McVries. David Johnson. He's an up and comer. He's been in a couple things. I would say he gave a better performance than Cooper Hoffman. And their chemistry was some of the best I have seen in a movie in a long, long, long time. This was their chemistry was just, it was beautiful. It was genuinely beautiful. Like, straight up, like, there's a scene in the movie, I'm not going to talk about it because it kind of gets into spoilers, but there is a scene in this movie, because it's mostly dialogue between them, where it just made me bawl my eyes out. It shows, and there's a lot of themes with this movie, you know, the dystopian America. They don't really talk a lot about. There was just some war that caused America to become like economically destitute. Interesting. And so it shows like the kind of the idea of what has been shown in other dystopian novels, not just Hunger Games, but Battle Royale and, you know, like Divergent and shit like that. But those are very much popcorn flicks. Those are like kind of, this is more like The Road or Book of Eli, where it's gruesome, it's messy, it's gross, it's and this is a big Hollywood blockbuster. And we've talked about this in the past, where Stephen King said, like, if you're doing this movie, you have to show the brutality of it. And the brutality of it was fucking shown. Yes, that's what it was. Alien Romulus was the big thing that he was in. Mainly the opening scene, but yes, that movie is very violent and gruesome. But Saving Private Ryan didn't like disturb me. I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. This disturbed me. This made my stomach churn at various points. Like, you see a lot of the terrible things that happen to this, and this is like a very like grounded, very like, the cinematography is beautiful. It's just like a road, but like it's so simple yet so effective. It's heavy on dialogue, it's heavy on the brutality, but it's you know, it's something like, even through the loss of like everything, what these boys are put through, like, there's still like an unrelenting message of hope in a weird sort of way. You know, there is a because this, I mentioned this in my review, where I say, if Life of Chuck showcased the best of humanity, this showcased the worst in terms of like its overall point. But even then, it showcases the heaviness and like unbreaking the unbreaking like spirit of like male friendship throughout most of this movie, where it just showcases like going to hell and back and like having this experience, and this, you know, it just like the bonding moments throughout most of this movie. Like it's weirdly beautiful in a way, but it's also, there's an unrelenting brutality that just really fucks with your state of mind. Like, I would say, don't eat it. If you plan to see this movie, don't eat anything before you see it. And just keep in mind, it's kind of like that, where it's just like, they don't give you a lot. It's just about, they don't cut away to a lot of stuff. Like, they don't, because they're on camera. Like, that's kind of like what the Hunger Games, like, it's televised. to bring hope to America and all of that. But there is sort of there's a bitterness to it. It's unfortunately very, very relevant, and it seems like it's gonna be one of those movies that's used as a guidebook instead of a warning. But it just like there are many scenes in this movie that just really felt like there's a scene where they're going up a steep hill, and it really fucks with you. There many of the deaths in this movie are just, I don't think it's Oscar potential because Stephen King movies rarely get nominated for anything. This is just one of those movies that's very simple and effective. And I loved it majorly. Now, I did mention this is going to be the very, 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 very light spoiler warning for the book, because I knew the ending of the book. I've never read the book, but I knew the ending. It got spoiled for me many years ago. So I'm not going to say what the book's ending is. I'm just going to say this. I said I would give this movie a 10 out of 10 if this movie followed the book ending, because the book ending is abhorrently one of the most fucked up things I've ever read. And the thing is with this, the movie does not follow the book ending. However, it keeps the spirit of it, and it still works, and it accentuates what the book ending was trying to do, but it's slightly more satisfying in a Hollywood sort of way, which I don't hate. I still prefer if they went with the book ending, but I still liked the movie ending, and I think the movie ending was very effective. And but I said I would give the movie a 10 out of 10 if it did the book ending, but it didn't do the book ending, and with that, I still give it a 10 out of 10. This is one of the best movies I've seen all year. This is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Like, I would say it's probably better. It's probably the best Stephen King adaptation this year. I enjoyed The Monkey more because I liked it's more enjoyable, and I like the horror comedy of it all. But this movie was better. Like, it was more effective. All of the attributes, the sum of its parts, and its execution were brilliant. The themes of like male friendship and like dystopian ideals, again, very effective. Here's the thing. There's a great quote by someone who had sorry, talking a lot, so sorry. Sorry, I apologize. But in regards to Stephen King, I forget who said this, but I remember reading a comment somewhere. The great thing about Stephen King is that even when he's bad, he's good, and when he's good, he's fucking fantastic. And you gotta give props to the guy that makes walking scary. Like, I know Stephen King gets a lot of flack for a lot of dumb shit. I understand that, like, the It thing with the ending of that book, and he's kind of a nutcase, and I've heard he's like a huge asshole to his fans, but like, when he is truly phenomenal, he's really, really great. And this movie really proves how great of a writer. This was like the first thing he ever wrote. This was not the first thing he ever published. Carrie was the first thing he ever published, but this was, he considered it too dark. So, and I think it was too young. I think he wrote this when he was like 17, 18 years old. And so it was a little bit too dark, hence why it was published much later, and it was under the Bachman pseudonym. So, Stephen King, there was the whole thing with the It thing, and he still gets flack for that to this day, and I don't get me wrong, I still give him flack for that because that's a bullshit thing to do. But I just think it's very dark. It is a very dark thing. But I'm gonna end the review here in terms of The Long Walk. It has a very good Rotten Tomatoes score. It was at 91 for a bit, but then it went down to 90, and then it now has an 86. Let me refresh the page real quick. Yes, it's still at this, and certified fresh. I would say please go, like, if you have a strong stomach and you like dark dystopian horror, but I think you're keeping it alive, Tony. I think I mean, there's 17 people watching. Come on, guys. Get this chat back alive. Come on now. Thank you, Tony, for trying to keep the chat alive. We appreciate you. But yeah, I would say Long Walk, brilliant, definitely earning of its excellent reviews. But yeah, so no, it's okay. We're not forcing you to actually do it. But let's move on to funnier things. Let's move on to Spinal Tap. So this is Spinal Tap was a revolutionary mockumentary back in the 80s. You know, it had the great Christopher Guest and Michael McKean and Harry Shearer as a fake British rock band, like doing their farewell tour, and Rob Reiner playing Marty D. Berger, and thank you, Patrick. I think it's great. So then, but they reveal in this second documentary that like they exploded in popularity and all this other stuff. And so these go to 11. And this was very after I was completely raw dogged by Long Walk. I needed something a little bit nicer, a little bit funnier, a little bit more okay. And it was a fun time. I don't think it definitely doesn't hold up to the it doesn't hold up to the original film. The original film is still an absolute banger classic to this day. It's funnier, it has more charm to it. But this was still like a welcome addition. They don't go into the obvious jokes that you would think, like they don't rehash all the like previous, like they don't like say, oh, we turn it up to 11 again. Like they don't do stuff like that. They don't reiterate the same jokes. This is just, it feels completely different, which I appreciate. It's just like, this is the extension. That's why it's called, you know, The End Continues. Like it goes on. Like it's not just a remake and just slapped a 2 on it. I appreciate that. Guest, McKean, and Shearer are all still really funny. Rob Reiner is still hilarious. I was laughing out loud in the theater. I thought this was just an overall very funny movie. Like, there's not a lot to it. Here's the thing. If you love This Is Spinal Tap, you'll like this movie. Like, it's not the greatest thing ever. It was a good cleanser after watching Long Walk. But even then, I still appreciate what they were trying to do here. It doesn't feel like a rehash. It doesn't feel like they're just redoing the same shit over again. It just feels like, you know, they just continued. And you see a lot of famous people in this. You see Sir Paul McCartney, Sir Elton John. You see Questlove from The Roots. You see Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You see Lars Ulrich from Metallica. So you see a bunch of them. And then you see, like, how Spinal Tap was popular at one point and became like this huge rock band, and you know these huge legends, and you know, just an overall funny movie. If I had anything bad to say about it, is that it is very poorly paced. It's only 83 minutes long, yet it felt like 3 hours at points. It was very slow. It was very it was just like there were multiple times where I was like, I had the itch to check my watch, where I was like, I kind of want to. I didn't do it, but I just kind of had like, okay, how much more of this is there? It just felt like there were long stretches of, you know, just kind of like, okay, like this isn't funny, this isn't progressing the plot. Let's kind of keep going. So I felt it was very poorly paced, and it ends way too abruptly. Like, pretty much, if you stop watching this movie before the credits, it sucks, because it makes no sense. Like, it's so abrupt with its ending. It's just like, why? I don't know why you didn't just, because you have to stay for the credits, because then like it gives you like more information. You can't just leave. I was getting ready to go. I'm like, that sucked. But you have to stay for the credits because the credits shows the actual ending of the movie, which I felt was kind of dumb. It's just either don't show it during the credits, just show it as an ending, like, because it ends with like a mishap at the concert, and then it technically stops, but you have to stay in the credits to get the true ending, I guess. But yeah, it was still an overall very fun movie. I think all of them still have it. Michael P. It's just so funny to see Michael McKean back in this role, because now he's kind of famous for Chuck in Better Call Saul, who was this bastard, and now he's like back in this role, and he's very funny and he's ridiculous. Same with Christopher Guest. They're all really funny. They keep the running gag of the dead drummers. That was funny. But they don't reiterate too many jokes, and I appreciated that. And it's overall a funny movie. I would probably give it like a 7. It's not. It'll never be the first movie. If you're expecting something as good or better than the first movie, you're never gonna get that. That was just such a classic, and this was. It was good. I think, although it's not a traditional kind of movie, no, but it's just like I felt it was very. The pacing is what kind of killed it for me. It was like almost better, but it didn't get there. I would give like the original like an 8.5, almost a 9 out of 10. This, like, I would give like a 7. It gets like an extra point for like how many times I laughed out loud during the movie. If it wasn't as funny, I'd probably give like a 6, 6.5. But Liz disagrees with me there, although I didn't tell her what my opinion was, because she loved the movie. She saw it with her mom, and she thought it was better than the first one. I'm like, I can't agree with that. I felt it was kind of boring at points, that it never fulfilled the greatness of the original. So yeah, I would say if you want to watch something quick, funny, it's less than 90 minutes. It's an hour 23 minutes. So if you want something, go to the theater on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday and go see like a very cheap matinee, then go watch it. But I would say don't pay full price for this, or go see it for cheap, or wait till streaming. I would say it's not a big like epic movie to go see in a theater. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Fuck, I hate that music. But it does. Oh, just one more thing. It does have a decent score, better audience score than critic score, but audience score is 85 and critic score is 67. I more so agree with the critic score, but I'm kind of right in between. But yeah, that is Movie Talk Madness. We're done with that, but thank you for joining us on this side. But now we are going to get into the quick hits. Got to get into those lovely quick hits. I don't know if Dan is going to come in soon, but I'm not forcing you, Dan. But if you want to, then cool, quick hit time. Yay. Okay. So let's get into quick hits. And the first thing we have, speaking of British icons, Sherlock Holmes is apparently back with a new series, but there's a catch. So apparently we will be getting an upcoming adaptation, but it's going to be called Animated Sherlock, which will draw from Sir Combs' The Unexpurged Adventures of Sherlock Holmes novels, which is not, it's not like it's, so don't get too excited. It's not Benedict Cumberbatch. They just use that for clickbait, but we're getting an animated Sherlock Holmes. Dan, what are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you have thoughts.
Yeah, I got pulled in with the clickbait, so I don't really care. Honestly, I'm not gonna watch it. So,
if it's good, I'll watch it.
Maybe who knows? Yeah.
I mean, I'm still waiting to get a proper Sherlock Holmes spinoff with Henry Cavill, because I don't give a flying fuck about Enola Holmes, but I want to see Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes. So get rid of that bitch. Give me Sherlock Holmes. Henry Cavill Sherlock Holmes, please, for the love of God. Nobody gives a fuck about Enola Holmes. But next thing, apparently Rainn Wilson says The Office was jaw-droppingly offensive at times because that was back when, comedy didn't have such restraint. And NBC lost out on $1 billion by axing Dwight's spinoff, Root Farms. They really missed out. Dan, you're a much bigger Office fan than I am. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with Rainn Wilson that Shroot Farms could have been the next step of greatness for The Office? Or do you think that, the paper is the better spinoff?
I haven't seen enough of the paper to tell you. I've just read about what other people think. I personally would have watched a Dwight spinoff. I just think it would be one of those situations, though, where most people remember Dwight for being the character that he was for the majority of the show, not the character that he was by the end of The Office. And I think when you make it a spinoff like this, naturally, he would be basically the Dwight that we saw in the last season, which was, had a lot of the hard edges of the character that made him iconic, sort of just rounded out, metaphorically speaking, because it was, the show was coming to an end. They were like, Dwight had grown up, he got married, and with Angela, and he was going to have a family and the shoot for. It would have been it would have been a very different kind of show. And the Dwight that we got for the majority of The Office would not be the Dwight that it's still the same character, but like the character arc would be in a different place. So it's hard to tell. I have a feeling that's why it didn't happen. But it's hindsight is 2020, and quite frankly, this to me at first glance comes across as, again, without having seen him say it, so I don't know the tone. It feels like Rainn Wilson's just like, it would have been great. I would have been getting paid a lot more money.
He did say, I did see a further quote. It might be in this article, actually. Okay, so so he said this: would it have been as good as The Office? No way, not even close. Would it have been good? Would it have been solid? Would it have been a good solid comedy? Yeah, it would have, and we would have done some really cool stuff, and I think they really missed out. So he knew that it would never be as good as The Office, but he still thinks it was $1 billion idea. So although Tony Randall, you might have some fisticuffs here because The Office and a sleepy emoji. Ooh.
It's an acquired taste, and like Fiona doesn't watch it because she has secondhand embarrassment. So, and there's
those early seasons you get a lot of secondhand embarrassment. So.
I still can't watch Michael's tots.
No, my God, Scott's tots. Jesus Christ.
I still have to look down while watching that episode because I cannot watch the classroom scene. It's just too hard. It's so bad. Ugh.
Yep. Anyway, but Ego Nwodim, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, exits SNL after 7 seasons. The hardest part of a great party is knowing when to say goodbye. So I have no idea who this chick is, but hope she has a better future outside of SNL.
She did. I've seen her in a lot of sketches on SNL. She was good. But again, she said, look, it's knowing, the hardest part of a great party is knowing when to say goodnight. So it seems like she's on to bigger and better things, or hopefully at least that's the goal probably for her, and we wish her the very best. Mm-hmm. As did, I'm sure, the rest of the crew at SNL.
Yep, and this is exciting for you. You watch Foundation, right?
Yes, I actually haven't started season 3 yet, so I'm really happy that season 4 is already on the way. And this picture is from season 3.
I was not sure, but I know you watch it, so I wanted to include this.
Dude, if you want to see Lee Pace shirtless, not that that's what I'm watching the show for, but I'm like, ladies, if you want to see Lee Pace scantily clad and all his glory, watch Foundation.
And if you want to watch him trying to murder Glenn Powell, watch The Running Man. But yeah, very exciting for all you Foundation fans. Renewed for season 4, so we have another season of this apparently great show.
I don't know. You won't have to wait very long because it's gonna start producing it in 2026. So maybe a year and a half, but they might be giving this to us in as early as late 2026 or maybe 2027. So
I straight up didn't recognize Jared Harris for a full second before.
Yeah, that's him. He's basically the main character in the show. It's an ensemble cast, but he's sort of at the center of it all. So,
right. Speaking of Jared Harris, Richard Harris was in Harry Potter, and Harry Potter, Cillian Murphy was talking about it. Hey, segue. He did briefly talk about this before, but Cillian Murphy's like, stop. I'm not Voldemort. However, he's had this to say specifically. He's like, no, my kids show me it occasionally, but no, I don't know anything about that. I mean, also, it's just really hard to follow anything Ray Fiennes does. The man is an absolute acting legend, so good luck to whoever is going to fill those shoes. I think he said something along the lines of that beforehand. I think that this is a reiteration, or somebody asked him again. So, I think, yeah, exactly, Tony. Like, that's what Andrew Garfield said, and that's what Mr. Joel Kinnaman said in regards to reprising his role as Rick Flag in Peacemaker. So these people don't mean anything. So I think, to be fair, I believe Cillian Murphy a little bit more than those guys, because, like, why would he have to lie? Because he feels very earnest and straight edge. So I would believe him more than, Andrew Garfield and Joel Kinnaman. So, but that's just
he's
me.
Much more of a straight shooter. So
Yes.
look, he's probably.
Well, I hope he's a straight shooter so he can kill those kids with his wand. Straight shooter.
Well, if he has signed an NDA, he's not gonna say anything. Plus, also, Cillian Murphy's asking rate as an actor has gone up quite a bit in the last few years, and they've already got a lot of big actors on that show. So I don't know if they can afford Cillian Murphy. And to be honest, we don't need Voldemort to be cast for season 1. So this might not even be something that they're worried about for season 1 of the show.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, he did briefly appear, but they can like do that and then recast, because that's what they did in the movies. So
yeah,
he was on Quarrel's head. So
exactly.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. But yeah. Next up, horror things. Fuck me. Okay, so apparently we're getting another Insidious movie, even though nobody cared after the first one. But Lynn Shay is coming back, even though her character is like dead. It's been dead for like since the 4th movie. So, we'll see. But but yeah, so Amelia Eve is also going to star in the next Insidious movie. Dan, I know you don't care about horror movies. Can I just move on?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Lucienne Buchanan, although this is pertinent to you because you watch The Night Agent, but Lucienne Buchanan reveals she is not returning to The Night Agent for season 3, but talks parallels to Chief of War and hopes for season 2 of Apple Drama. So she is going to be appearing in the Jason Momoa starring
it's already
Hawaiian Polynesian epic in regards to like invaders and all of that.
It looks good.
It looks good, yeah. So it's not like she's ditching that for something garbage. It looks Chief of War. It looks great. Hopefully I can actually sit down and watch it. But
I will say though, I'm kind of disappointed because I thought that they were doing this whole romance arc between her character and I think what was his name, Gabriel Basso. We had him on Fancast Friday last week for The Flash, who's the lead of The Night Agent. But it looks like they're going in a different direction. So. And to be fair, this sort of only they did kind of, it felt like her character was sort of rammed into season 2 the way it kind of works out, because like she technically works on the other side of the country, and then it was, without explaining it all, it's not entirely surprising, but I'm still disappointed because I think the dynamic between her character and Gabriel Basso's character was one of the better parts of The Night Agent. So we'll see, we of course, it's like, with Jack Reacher on Amazon, I thought the season 1 chemistry between the two leads, Jack Reacher, and I forgot the other actress's name.
Fitzgerald.
Willa Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
She's on something else now. I think she's doing a medical drama. But the chemistry between her and Alan Ritchson was amazing. I thought season 2 was a bit off. Season 3, are we in season 4 now, or are we in season 3? I just thought like the next couple of the season 2 was rough. Season 3 was better, or unless I'm thinking season. Anyway, it's
whatever it is.
The point is, they can go in a different direction and be fine.
Yeah. Also, you could check out the trailer. We did talk about it on the show, way back when. But yeah, it has not come out yet. When does it come out again?
The Chief of War is out. It's
no, it is out. I thought it was. Yeah. I thought it was coming out later this year.
Out. No, she's talking about season 2. Season 1's already airing, so it has good reviews.
Okay,
if you have
I'm sorry. I thought shit. I thought that was coming out later. My bad.
Nope. They were quick with the marketing didn't start until really close to the release, so that's
probably why. That's probably why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't heard anything from the show because I didn't know it was fucking airing. So, but yeah, I hope it's great, and then it gets another season. But yeah, speaking of season 2, The Hunting Wives got renewed, becomes Netflix global original as season 2 plot is revealed. I have no fucking clue what this is, and I kind of don't really care. Dan, do you care?
I don't know a lot about the plot, but I kept hearing this show has a lot more sex than people expected. So if you're into that, then and it's a lot of.
All right, since Brittany Snow and Malin Ackerman are on the show, now I got to start watching it.
And let's just say it's very it's the two of them and other combinations. So there's a lot of that. So.
All right, now I gotta fucking watch this show. God damn.
That's anyway. What I've heard. I don't watch the show. I'm just telling you what I've been reading.
Yeah, you don't watch the show, Dan.
It's really
you
popular.
Watch the show when it gets ported onto other websites, but
it's really popular on Netflix, and the ratings were high. So I'm not surprised they got renewed for another season. So
yeah. Anyway, but yeah, cool.
MTG's like he's watching it. Yeah, I read Deadline and Hollywood Reporter. I'm not.
Speaking of Amazon MGM, they board Eric Heiserer's Mysteria with Charlize Theron and Craig Zobel circling. Thoughts on
Thank
this?
you for the cape. Look, any project that's got Charlize Theron attached to it or potentially attached to it, I would give it a shot, even if it is Doctor Strange 3. But it looks interesting. I mean, Amazon MGM need more IP, so this could become something big. Both are great talents. I mean, that's where it's pretty early on, so it's not worth discussing too much.
Right. Anyway, quick hits are done. Bye. Anyway.
Bye. Okay, I'll be back after this. I'm gonna go to get a drink of water. My voice is
almost shot too. I don't have any more water. That's why I had to fucking drink the Hawaiian Punch. But anyway,
I wish I could just give you the Gatorade right now. Anyway,
and I don't drink Gatorade. But thanks for watching the news side of things. In addition to the news and quick hits, we also did Movie Talk Madness. So thanks for watching that. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you know when we go live. Now we got it, guys. We got to be blessed. We got to be blessed from the beginning. So let's start that wonderful DC intro and get started with DCU Daily.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in the stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all on the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
Hello. Welcome to DCU Daily, guys. We have a couple stories, not a ton today, unfortunately, but we have some, and that's, good enough, right? Guys, please clap. But welcome to the DCU side of things, John. Very nice to see you. Dan is still getting his drink. Or maybe not. Fuck me then. But yeah, we're gonna get into some DC stuff. Yes, we're gonna be getting into Nightwing soon after this, but we are gonna be getting into DC.
Wow.
DC time. It's time. It's time. It's DC time. So Dan, what are you talking about?
It's DC time. Oh yeah. There you go. See, that's how you got to do it. You got to use the sound effect to your benefit.
Anyway,
but
you're Dan.
I'm happy to be here. Hello. Whoa.
But
Okay, cool.
what are you excited to talk about today, Dan? What are you really excited to talk about?
I'm excited. I'm excited for everything DC, but my biggest thing that I'm interested in today is the tease or not tease of of all the stuff that's going on the Clayface set, whether it's the Batman related or not. And John, let's talk about that secret DCU project that James Gunn finally gave us an update about. Because remember, he mentioned he had a secret DCU project he was working on that he didn't want other studios to steal his ideas.
Right.
I'm like, what the hell did that mean? Because he just gave us an update saying that, well, there's stuff moving on that. And not only that, John, it looks like James Gunn is not the one working on it himself, in a manner of speaking. So,
but he did mention a couple things. One of those things being, well, we'll get into it soon, but he's not writing or directing it, as you mentioned. He did mention this. I was just meeting with the writer and director of a forthcoming secret DCU project that we're doing, and they were asking us about how much VFX and how much it costs and how many VFX characters we can have. And then they were talking about the superheroes in the show, and I was like, the one thing you kind of got to be careful about is the superhero costume, because they're really difficult to make. They're difficult to make look good. Tell that to the cosplayers that could do it for $5 or less. And they usually cost a lot more money than it does creating a CGI character. So that's a lot of stuff. Considering this was like a secret DC project. Yeah, not so fucking secret now, James. So it seems like we're getting more, and it's going to be a lot of VFX characters. Now, it seems like they say VFX characters, which gets me to believe that it's going to be a live action movie, but with a lot of VFX characters. So it's not going to be animated. I don't think it's going to be animated. So Dan, do you have any ideas in regards to what it could be? Maybe.
Okay. So what is the project? Look, what James Gunn said is pretty, like he said, nebulous. It's not. He's still not giving away much. I think the biggest thing that we learned from this is the fact that he's not writing or directing it. And he made it sound like whoever is doing both writing and directing it. Meaning it's not like he's hiring a separate writer and a separate director like what we got for Supergirl or will be getting for Supergirl. Or even Clayface, for example. Somebody wrote it, somebody else is directing it. Neither of those are James Gunn. To me, this is like the article poses the question with the thumbnail at the very top, the header image. They show that as potentially a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie. I think it's too early for them to go in that direction, but James Gunn is clearly not trying to give away any details.
Mm-hmm.
He does hint at the idea that there's going to be a lot of characters, potentially multiple superheroes. So it's got to be some kind of a team up. And if it's not the Authority, if it's not the Suicide Squad, then John, I don't know, like, do you have any clue as to what kind of team of heroes they might be getting into? Are they doing a Justice Society? Is this something where we're going to have a lot of, costumes for superheroes that are hard to do practically? Like maybe like, costumes like the Engineer, where, you could do it entirely CGI. This is the thing. You got to like read all the inferences. Mm-hmm. Maybe James Gunn is trying to throw us off the scent, but is it Zack Snyder like writing and directing it? Like, because you're talking about a potential auteur. Zack Snyder is known for going CGI heavy. So, Zack Snyder was in James Gunn's office not that long ago. They took a picture, and it was the day that world peace happened. And then, all hell broke loose after again. But like it looks like this is not going to be a solo movie. And I mean, he's treating this like it's some big idea. Like, think about it. Let's kind of work our way backwards, Sean. Mm-hmm. What kind of project idea does James Gunn have that he's afraid Kevin Feige or somebody else might want to steal, that has potentially multiple superheroes that need costumes that are hard to produce practically? Is it because I'm thinking maybe it's Lanterns, but we're already getting a Lantern show. Could it be a Flash related thing like Tony's suggesting? But I don't know. I mean, that would be completely. They already did a Flash multiverse sort of a thing with the Flash not that long ago. So I think that's a little bit of a damaged property to go back to this soon. Is it? I'm trying to think of like, is it a fourth world movie? Are we gonna get Dark Side? Are we, gonna go in that direction? We're already getting so many Batman things, but most Batman rogues are not very they wouldn't require a lot of CGI. So really what it comes down to is the person who's writing and directing it is writing and directing it. So that it's not two people. You made it sound like it's one person. So somebody who's an auteur level kind of filmmaker. It's a secret project, so it's not one of the ones he's announced so far. It has multiple superheroes. Maybe it's a Justice Society movie. Like it could be that. I don't know.
Maybe, but I'm kind of like
This
iffy
is not a
with
new
that.
secret project, by the way. This is something James Gunn has mentioned multiple times before. So this is not the first time we've ever heard of it. But go ahead, John.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't think it's a New Gods. I definitely don't think it's a New Gods because we already have Eternals, which is essentially shitty New Gods. Like even the comics of the Eternals were not very good. So I mean, it was just like I'm gonna make New Gods with blackjack and hookers. So it's like that's what Eternals was like, kind of, and it like fell flat on its face.
Ooh. Do you think this is a Martian Manhunter movie where they actually show like the war on Mars that wiped out the green Martians and the white Martians basically committed genocide? Can you imagine if that's where James Gunn is going, Marco? Holy shit, then I'm just all on board. I'm like, James Gunn, take my money now, and I will forever trust your judgment. So if that was the case, I'm just saying. Sorry, John, I cut you off, but go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I think that could be a good. That definitely could be a good bit. I would love to see it, but obviously we will have to wait and see if that is truly the case. But like that kind of sounds like an interesting idea. It's just like in terms of a lot of the effects, that's you got to think about that, and I don't know what that would be, and it's got to be something so abhorrently different from what Marvel has done in the past that it's just like it's maybe it's something more like dark and gritty, maybe it's something more horror related, maybe it's something way more cosmic, because they've only done so much with the cosmic stuff in the MCU. So I have no idea, and honestly I kind of like that, but I do like the idea of what you said, like the idea that it's what M2G did they said that they said
Marco said it.
Oh, Marco said it, sorry. Marco, I kind of agree with it. I don't know, again, I don't know if that'll actually happen, but I like the idea. I like where your head's at.
Can you imagine though, like a Martian? Because that's what I'm thinking. Because you would need a lot of CGI characters, like the white Martians, the green Martians, a lot of like transformation CGI where they're like turning to different people and stuff.
And that would be different from what they've done at Marvel. So
yeah, and it would be something that Marvel. I don't know, like if they would try how they would try to steal that idea, but clearly James Gunn thinks this is something that needs to be protected, or he's a tease, which he is a tease. But you guys let us know in the comments. What do you think? What is this secret project that James Gunn is not writing or directing, but someone else is? And it looks like it's going to require multiple CGI heavy characters that James Gunn was wondering or suggesting rather to this other filmmaker that, hey, maybe you want to do it all CGI instead of trying to develop costumes because it ends up being more expensive. I understand that you have more people you would be working on designing a costume practically than necessarily or certainly more expensive labor because VFX artists are not unionized. So not to pay them as much as the production department to do all the art department, I should say, for costume design. You let us know what you think about this secret DCU project, because I think this could be really mind-blowing if it go in the direction of what we are thinking or speculating, especially if it's Martian Manhunter. Give him the John Carter treatment, except people go to watch it this time.
Yeah. Ouch. But like true.
Yeah.
Terrifics, maybe, but I don't know about that.
Could be it. Yeah.
Could be the case.
Yeah.
But we're going to touch upon this real quickly. Apparently there was some concept art that was I don't know if it was leaked, but it was like
No, this was put up online, I think, by the artist who worked on it. Yeah.
Yes, Hobbs Neck Bridge. The shot of like him like rising out of the building ash, and honestly, I'm gonna say this. Maybe this is not that because usually concept art is better than the movie. I thought the shot in the movie was better than the concept art. Like the concept art looks like very fake looking, like it's like clearly like art. But I feel like in the movie, like how it was like portrayed, it's so real. This is just like they kind of just put him on the the smoky ash and like that's it. Like I feel like with how like the shot how you can barely see him in the like breadth of like building ash. I think that kind of worked better a little bit.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
But
yeah,
looks cool. I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are, but cleans his pores. I don't know how that works, but sure. But thanks, M2G. But now we have the next one, which is the actual like buildings falling. And
it's really vivid art. I mean, this you could tell they executed the vision pretty close to what
I
they
will
had
say
in mind.
it looks like it looks kind of it looks fake. Like I feel like the multiple buildings don't work. Like it just looks like they kind of just like they don't fall into like the other one was like a domino effect. Like I like that, and then it eventually fell. Here it just looks like all these buildings falling. And I feel like the epicness again in the movie was portrayed even better because, as I say, like concept art is usually way better. Like the concept art for like Marvel movies, it's like, oh my god, this looks amazing, and then it's like, oh, a gray parking lot in the movie, so it's like, okay. I think this looks cool, but I like how it was portrayed in the movie a little bit more. And this is a cool shot. Like I will say, like it kind of gets the vibe, but again, it kind of feels weird. Like the it like the building size is off. Like how it's like portrayed. Like it like kind of doesn't work. But yeah, I still think all these shots look pretty good. And we have one more. And it's of the actual thing falling here. But yeah, all this concept art's really good. Really
you can tell
cool.
that. I mean, look, when you're making a movie of this scale, you want to plan this stuff out. Like you want to plan out the shots because they shot as much of this practically as they could. That's a real bridge, I believe was it Cincinnati, I think, or Cleveland? It was in Cleveland, and so they had to set up cameras. They had to block the entire bridge from any real traffic for a whole day and stuff. There's a lot going on here, and you could see how well planned out this was. And then James Gunn just, the idea being that he doesn't do reshoots, so that means you plan the shit out of it before you get on set.
Well, he did some pickup
and then you
shots,
execute.
but,
So yeah, this is for Superman, John. Not John, Tony. This is the movie we got, and now we're getting some of the concept art that basically James Gunn was probably flipping through as they were shooting these for the movie. So there you go. My favorite superhero, Patrick, is Batman. Grew up with Batman, not afraid to embrace it. Some people are like, oh, that's everybody's favorite superhero. I'm like, fuck you. My favorite superhero is Batman. He's the coolest superhero of all time. And I will forever love Batman because that's who I am. And I'm not going to change just because you think Batman is lame, which most people don't. So there you go.
I mean, there's a reason he's like the most popular next to Spider-Man. Like,
yeah. I think he's more popular than Spider-Man. I'm like, I think Spider-Man seemingly is more popular right
1970s Hugh Hefner. You picked like one of the Newsies. Did you base it on Crutchy? I'm getting a strong feeling it was Crutchy.
Swear to me. I can't. Nope. That's not going to help.
Starts with an H, stupid. I'm giving you the bird.
I fucking love Pete Holmes. I'm so glad that he's in the intro for the DCU Daily. I love it so much.
What was the you're dead to me? You're like
what?
When he meets Robert Pattinson Batman, he's
you wear a little thing on your neck because your neck gets a little chilly on those wet nights.
Gets wet. He's like
wait a minute. You're telling me you get the adrenaline from bull semen, but gluten is a little bit too much for you.
Sorry, I can't do anymore. My throat's already fucked up. I
I
can't do anymore.
can't. I took a Dayquil as we started the show, so or like as I got on the. I can't. So, but yeah, thank you
Anyway,
for the size.
love
question.
Pete Holmes. But going on, well, speaking of Batman, we're gonna move on to this thing, kind of a little bit of a sadder note, but it's a very important thing to talk about, and important how DC doesn't always shine a light on their creators all that much. But Greg Rucka was saying, like, legendary Batman, well, legendary DC writer, legendary comic book writer, but he did write a lot for not only Gotham Central, but for Batman in general. He was saying that very unfortunately, due to the hierarchy of DC Comics, that he was left suicidal due to an extremely toxic work environment that was held up by Dan DiDio and Jeff Johns. I mean, Dan DiDio is notorious for pretty much bringing in the dark age of DC after the 90s, which was a very big like decade for them because Death of Superman caused a lot of great sales, a lot of great Batman stuff happened in the 90s. So it was a great year, and then Dan DiDio came in the early 2000s, and DC has never really recovered since. Don't get me wrong, the 2000s were okay for DC, but they still kind of, they never really bounced back from that. And even though I love Jeff Johns as a writer, we've seen that he was part of the abuse that was on the Justice League set, in addition to Joss Whedon. So he was saying this in regards to the treatment at DC. He was saying that was my absolute lowest at DC. That was in the deep end when everybody was lying to me, using me, betraying me, abusing me. My relationship with James Robinson was a bad one. He was writing whatever he wanted. We were not collaborating well. Collaborating with Sterling Gage was great. Literally was the best thing about that period, but it was just a repeated kick between the legs. It was toxic when I was there and remained toxic until Dan DiDio left. It was an abusive, manipulative environment. Jeff Johns was an incredibly manipulative person to me, used me, lied to me, played me off against people. Dan DiDio did the same thing. I was made promises repeatedly, and they were always broken, explaining the impact that it had on him. When I left in 2009, I was mentally ill. I was severely depressed and suicidal. I nearly took my life. And that's all the direct result of the way I was treated from 2006 through 2009. It was done with malice. The people I'm speaking about are bad actors. I'm not in a place where I will defend them again. They did what they did with malice of forethought. So, he did eventually return to DC after Dan DiDio left, and now Jim Lee is in charge. And even though Jim Lee has his own issues, shown to be not the best leader for DC and the leader that DC needs right now, he still admittedly said it's a different company. It's a lot more healthy, and it's a lot better run now, even though it's wholly different now. I know this is, very like serious to talk about because, but it's important to talk about, like, because admittedly, when it comes to like, it's good on him for speaking out. Usually when it's abuse against men is not really talked about enough, unfortunately. So anything to talk about that abuse is very much important. That's what Ray Fisher was going through on the Justice League set when he was like abused and manipulated by Jeff Johns as well. And it's, kind of a shame that we still have to like go through this, but the fact that DC Comics is still a little bit better now than it was back then is pretty good, but it feels like DC still hasn't properly bounced back from that whole thing. So it's good that he's speaking out. Greg Rucka is a legend, and I'm glad that, he got the help he needed. And remember, if you guys have it available to you, try your best to, if you're, not in a good place, try to talk to somebody, even if not a therapist, just a friend, a parent, a family member, whatever it is. Try to talk to anybody that has a listening ear. That's all. It just try to get help whenever you can. Dan, I don't know if you have any specific thoughts about this, but I like how this was dropped in the inbox because it's still an important thing to talk about in this day and age when therapy is becoming more of the norm. So I like how this was available to us. So Greg Rucka, I'm happy that you are in a better place right now, not in like a death kind, like in a better mental state. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, well, I think it's tragic to hear this story because
Right.
clearly the effects of that abuse are still ringing, you know, and true with not only him and whoever else. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to be the first one if this was indeed prevalent across the organization back in that time. Of course, we know a lot of those people, like you said, John, are not in charge anymore, likely because of all those reasons, because there were internal investigations and clearly like things weren't going well. So it's really sad, like you said, John, like to hear that he was, you know, even now he says that he's, you know, he was suicidal. I mean, they should have better support programs at I hope they do if they didn't back then at DC Comics, and to create an atmosphere that is that bad. We know the world of comics is one where opportunities aren't, you know, aplenty, because it's not, despite the fact that it feeds into the most popular genre of movies, the comics themselves aren't as big business as they used to be back in the day. So it's competitive, but you know, you don't get paid the best, and it's demanding, and you're doing creative work. And as a creative, you know, you have to be able to put all your focus into the work to put your best foot forward. And if you're just being psychologically tortured, and the way Greg describes it, it wasn't even like accidental. Like it was like he said that it felt particularly aimed at him, and it was on purpose, and it was just abuse essentially. I hope that this is addressed. I mean, both by the company DC Comics and Warner Brothers at large, but then also hopefully, like you said, Greg is, you know, if he's still struggling with the effects of what happened, that he has or will continue to or will start to see, you know, and seek out some help, because that really matters. He's a great artist, and he's a great writer, and he should be able to continue doing what he loves to do without feeling like, you know, he's in an environment that it's completely toxic. So hopefully, you know, that's something that is no longer the case at DC Comics. And then obviously, hopefully Greg can return to DC Comics maybe down the road if he feels like, you know, the environment has changed and the people there now are very different than before. So it's sad to hear. It's sad to hear. We love DC. You hate to hear that, you know, they almost drove one of their best writers to nearly taking his own life, which is just wildly disappointing. You know, mental health is very important. So yeah, and to, like you said, John, anybody out there struggling, I mean, even just what we do, and we're not the only show on YouTube. There's a lot of other shows. Some of you guys watch many other shows like us. So, you know, if that provides you some semblance of, like, you know, relief or escape from the day's stresses, then we're glad that you're able to come over and have this conversation with us. So, absolutely, and we appreciate you for that. And it's the same for us too. We get to talk to you. So.
Yeah. So as I said before, try to get help when you can. You know, I think that is the most important thing. I'm a huge advocate for that, not just for my sake, but everyone else's sake, because it's just a very important thing that needs to be talked about more in this day and age. So, you know, I appreciate that he did speak out, as others have said. But let's move on a bit. Let's you know, move on to a little bit of Peacemaker action, to trying to come up with a good segue, but I don't think I'll come up with a good segue for that. But we're talking about Peacemaker a little bit, but you know, James Gunn has teased you know, Peacemaker future plans for Chris, if, you know, this will be the last season, if there's more, you know, whatever it is, and will we see a certain someone in Man of Tomorrow. But he was talking about how he has said many times you can watch every project by itself, of course, just like you can watch Peacemaker by itself or watch Superman without seeing Creature Commandos. But Man of Tomorrow and Peacemaker are very connected. So he did, talk about this in regards to Michael Rooker, which I totally called, but when I was watching that episode, I was like, was Michael Rooker in the dance opening last week? I saw him today for the first time since the first week, but we didn't cut to his single until this week. Every episode, the edits are subtly different, which I fucking noticed because I remember in this past week, not only Michael Rooker, but like Peacemaker and Amelia Harcourt, they like disappear quicker. They like the editing is like slightly different where they don't, or no, it was a little bit longer because she like gives him this like weird look and then it cuts to them getting separated. So I fucking knew, James Gunn, you fucking little dirty bastard. I fucking knew you were editing them. Because I'm like, that's different. Yeah, so, and we'll be getting into that soon enough, but Anthony's saying that people playing Batman and Nightwing simultaneously need to have martial arts experience instead of a stuntman doing all the martial arts. Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious. But
I mean, actors can train up for that, but go ahead.
Yes. The intro in this episode is slightly different from the past few episodes. Any reasons for that? Many episodes are different to focus on different characters, like how we did get like kind of a John Economos episode. We got an Adebayo episode a little bit, and then I'm sure we're going to be getting different episodes for in the coming.
I like that they're doing that they're making these character focused, because that's like an old school TV thing.
I mean, it is like, I mean, the idea of like, it just like even though it's called Peacemaker, it's still an ensemble. So
it's the 11th Street Kids, right? Like that's and then James Gunn has referred to the crew that way. It is an ensemble cast, like you said. Even though the show is called Peacemaker, it's not just like Chris Smith being the only, like, clearly they have B and C plots, and all these other team members are part of that. So I like it because it's like I said, it's a throwback to back in the day. Like, you would have, that's how a lot of TV actors started to get experience writing and directing, because they would write their own character's episode and then they would direct it sometimes, and because they understand as the actor their character better than even some of the writers would. So I totally get it, and it produces some of the better episodes that it has in the past. I know that James Gunn directed most of this, but I'm glad that they're putting a focus on other characters that are supporting Peacemaker, not just Peacemaker himself. So
yeah.
And the intro, it's kind of like reminds me of like Fringe, and many shows in the past have done it, where like they will slightly change things up, and it might like reflect the narrative of the show, despite, and quite frankly, if you didn't notice it, it's not going to change your enjoyment of the show, in terms of like you're not going to miss any important details. But if you did see it, it enhances. It's one of those things. It's like you appreciate the effort that they're putting in. Like the devil's in the details, and in this case, it might literally be that. So depending on if your theory is right or not, John. But yeah, I like it. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I like to see it. You like to see it.
And there, it also addresses the long-standing theory that this is going to feature Superman in a cameo, and since it's heavily going to be like, this is going to set up Man of Tomorrow, so it's going to feature Superman cameo, the whole thing with John Cena and David Corenswet taking that picture together, so there is that as well. So it does tease that, and so yeah, I think it's just like this episode's this show is very exciting. The last episode was a little weak, but I feel like that made sense. We had such a big episode with episode 3, so episode 4 needed to be like, okay, calm before the storm. Let's calm it before it's like shit is going to happen. Speaking of shit happening in the next episode, we did get a teaser for episode 5, Back to the Suture. I love their references anyway, but there's going to be a lot going on. I'm not going to play the whole teaser because I don't want this to get flagged.
Yeah. I see what you did there. Okay, that's clever. I'll
Add
give
the
you that.
Seth Rogen laugh. I saw the Good Fortune trailer twice today, so I got enough Seth Rogen to laugh a lifetime. But so we're getting to a point where you actually fucking added that too.
I did. Yeah. How did you know? This is not the dude. I did that like yesterday.
Oh, I didn't hear it. But yes, so we get more Judo Master like ready shot. We have Chris Smith in Argus kidnapped, so we know, well, I mean, spoiler, but he gets kidnapped, and then there's like a whole bunch of other stuff, the major stuff that happens. So very exciting for this upcoming second half of this season. So we're chugging along. We're now in the second half, and remember, episode 5 is the last episode that James Gunn allowed most people to see, because now we're getting
even his publicist hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
it's that's secret.
Where's Noah Wiley? Come on,
what?
He said that was the Pits making fun of it, but
okay, sorry.
And then I said The Pit, which stars Noah Wiley.
Right.
Bad joke.
I know, I got it. I understand where I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Anyway, so we're getting a lot of stuff for the next episode, and it's all very exciting. But that's not the most exciting thing, Dan. I mean, people are excited for Peacemaker, but people are now more excited for Clayface. Because apparently a whole bunch of shit was going down with the art department. And
I mean, the art department's just killing it, except maybe
not. We'll see. But apparently there was a little set dressing on a garbage can, which is where the Batman belongs. Am I right? No, I'm just kidding. But I like the Batman. I just don't love it. But there was this little bit right here. Apparently, there was like this tiniest little sticker on here. You can let's see if we can enhance, and
can zoom into this.
We'll zoom into this,
Where's
and
the shot?
You can kind of see
right
like a little Batman symbol right here.
It's literally Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Very similar to, the Batman. And before we get into other stuff, Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
It stands out because it doesn't really fit the vibe of anything else on there. I'm not saying it's photoshopped. I mean, by the way, the screen just went dark. It's not photoshopped, but it definitely feels out of place compared to everything else you see.
Right.
So given that this is probably a closed set, it's hard to believe that, I don't know, maybe somebody randomly went in and put it in there. But also, here's the thing. That small of a piece of detail is not going to confirm one way or the other whether they all of a sudden change their mind about Robert Pattinson joining the DCU as their Batman.
Right.
I think it's still, more likely a coffee cup left in the background of a Game of Thrones episode situation than it is that James Gunn and Matt Reeves decided to include the Pattinson Batman in the DCU. That's probably what this is. Let's be honest. But yeah, I understand the confusion. And look, James, I think, John, you're gonna talk about this in a minute, but like, James Gunn addressed this. And he directly talked about.
He did, and we're going to talk about that right now.
Yeah,
but I did want to, see if there was. Okay, so there's no other images part of this specific Threads post, but this is kind of the bit right here.
Mm-hmm.
But then, it's getting an honest reaction from James Gunn, and we'll show what he posted. But yeah, so. Everyone's like been raving and blah blah blah, and this person specifically, James, people are saying the merge is happening after seeing the Pattinson logo on the Clayface set. However, I don't think you guys would confirm something this big like this. But the rest of this is like, oh, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other thing. This is the specific article. But if we go to the actual thing here, it says right here, although this person is definitely suspicious and will enhance. This is the image, but James Gunn saying, although the trash can is from the set, I have a hard time believing the bat was put there by the art department, but if so, it never came across my desk. I don't have time to okay every piece of set dressing. So that's enough for me.
He's not the director. Like, that's the job of the director of that movie. I understand some like big story things where it's cinematic universe level. I would understand that James Gunn would have to say on it, but I bet you even who's the director on this movie? Even James Watkins.
James Watkins.
Yeah, even James Watkins probably noticed this for the first time when it went viral. So I don't, and you know what? Now that it's been noticed, they most likely will remove it, or they always clean this up in post with the very easy fix with VFX. So I don't see this being an issue.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue either. I think this is just like a case of trolling. Like it kind of almost reminds me of a little bit in a weird sort of way. Like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man on the Morbius, like in the wall, but like that was like so bad it like
that
got
was
into
clickbait.
A trailer and then it got removed.
But remember there were multiple different Spider-Men in that, like they kept changing it up.
They referenced Tobey Maguire, they referenced Andrew Garfield, and they referenced Tom Holland. And then in the actual movie, they removed all the references because I think they were trying to be like, hey, Kevin Feige, can you include this in the... No, we're not doing that. So they're like, okay, we'll just remove everything. So,
well, I think they also they saw how bad the movie was, and then they were like, "We do not want this to be."
But it made a Morbin amount of dollars. It made the more $1 billion. So, you know,
yeah, so many more $1 billion that they actually put it back out in theaters again, and then it made more dollars. And here we are talking about a sequel. Wait, no, we're not. Never mind. So you know.
No, you're not excited for Morbius Kills God.
Devin, hello. And yes, we will have multiple Robins in the DCU. Whether we see any of them in Clayface is a good question. I don't think we've had a ton of hints about it yet, but we will have multiple members of the Bat family that's going to get introduced in Brave and the Bold. So good question. Patrick earlier was asking about a Deadman movie potentially. I wouldn't put it past James Gunn. You know, he's a horror guy. He's a supernatural, superhero kind of guy. Look, he produced and did he write Brightburn? I don't know if he just produced it.
I think he just produced it. He might have written a story or something.
You know, like I wouldn't put it past him. James Gunn, if there's anybody as a studio head who would have, who could make a Deadman project, it would be James Gunn. So there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cool. Well, that's been debunked. So that
logo. Gotta love James Gunn.
Batman logo. Yeah. James Gunn was not messing around. He straight up just said, "Nah, this is fake
this
news,
is
guys.
bullshit. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I have shit to do. Get me out of here." But we're not quite done yet because we have to tease for the Fancast Friday that's going to happen soon. Just to remind everybody, Fancast Friday is happening in, I don't know, maybe like 30 minutes after we end. So, and it's going to be about Nightwing.
We should be ready to go. We should be ready to go a lot sooner than that. It's
I just, like, let's say 15 to 30. Like, you never know. Just like maybe one of us got to take a poop. Maybe both of us got to take a poop. And that shit happens quite literally. So, you never know. You never know. I'm just saying.
So,
just, let's see.
Whatever floats your boat.
But yes, so we are getting Nightwing. However, Adam Driver in the DCU is still the bridesmaid, never the bride, but he is going to be returning for the next poll. So we'll see what people want, and we're going to be discussing that when we get to the Fancast Friday. So with that, I'm just going to say this. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe. And we're gonna be.
You're telling me to go get some Wawa because you know that never mind. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. I just almost doxed myself.
I mean,
go get some.
Anybody who knows Wawa knows where you are. So but Marco probably doesn't. Then don't vote for him. I voted
for him.
I mean, look at that. Look at him, sexy with the horse. Come on now. Anyway,
I
but
picked the photo.
but that's it for now. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We couldn't find any good questions for today, or if we can find some, we'll do it for Fancast Friday.
Well, yeah, the Q&A. Yeah.
So but
leave your comments down below.
But yeah, remember, make sure that we got to make sure that we're not only blessed from the start, but blessed at the end. And remember, look up and look out and hello.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
Hunka hunka.
Fuck Jeff Snyder.